You've been trying for months, maybe longer. You've done the affirmations. You've visualized the life you want. You've repeated, "I am abundant" in the mirror until your voice grew hoarse. You've journaled. You've meditated. You've aligned your chakras, pulled oracle cards. You listened to manifestation frequencies while you sleep. And nothing changed. So you did what everyone in the manifestation world tells you to do. You blamed yourself. My vibration must still be low. I'm not believing hard enough. I'm still carrying doubt. I'm broken. I'm doing manifestation wrong. Everyone else must be getting it right, and I'm the one who's failed. This shame is so real, isn't it? The message in virtually every manifestation community is crystal clear. If it's not working, it's your fault. You're not pure enough. You're not grateful enough. You're not vibrating high enough. I want to be very clear about something today. That narrative is incomplete, and it's harming people. The truth is far more compassionate than you've been told, and it's also far more scientific. If you want the full 21-day protocol for resetting your nervous system so manifestation can actually work, the Pursuit Paradox was built exactly for this. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. When manifestation teachers talk about vibration, they're usually talking about your emotional and mental state. They're talking about resonance, alignment, frequency of thought, and there's something real in that framework. Our thoughts and emotions do shape our nervous system state. That part isn't wrong. The problem isn't that the framework is completely false. The problem is that it's only half the story. But here's what the framework assumes. They assume you start from a baseline of regulation. They assume your nervous system is fundamentally calm, like a still pond where you can see your reflection clearly. They assume you can think your way into a different emotional state because for them, thinking and feeling are accessible tools. Think about what you want, feel the feeling, boom, it's yours. They assume you can visualize a future because your mind isn't already hijacked by survival mode, scanning for threats, checking exits, monitoring voices. They assume you can feel gratitude because your system isn't consumed with vigilance. This assumption isn't stated outright, but it's there in every sentence. It's the invisible foundation that all manifestation teaching rests on. In other words, they assume you're starting from within your window of tolerance. And the window of tolerance is a concept from neuroscience developed by Siegel. It describes the zone of arousal in which your nervous system can function optimally, where you can process information, access your creativity, feel your feelings, connect with others, and yes, think thoughts that might shift your reality. Think of it like this. Imagine a comfortable temperature range where you can work productively, where you're not too hot and not too cold. Your window of tolerance is like that, but for your nervous system, within this window, your brain is flexible. Your nervous system is regulated enough to imagine possibilities. You can feel both your challenges and your capabilities at the same time. You can access what some people call the wise mind, where logic and emotion work together instead of fighting each other. But here's what happens when you've experienced trauma, or ongoing stress, or childhood adversity, or both, or all of the above, layered across your entire life. Your window of tolerance gets very small. When you're living with a contracted window, you're not moving between two states, calm and anxious. You're moving between only hypervigilant and numb, between flooded and shut down, between panic and dissociation. Your nervous system doesn't have access to that middle ground where manifestation actually works. Instead of a wide, flexible range, you're living in extremes. It's like the volume dial on your nervous system is broken. It only goes from silent to deafening. There's no comfortable middle volume. So when a teacher tells you to raise your vibration by thinking more positively, they're asking you to generate a thought from a state your nervous system isn't equipped to produce. It's like asking someone who can't swim to learn to do laps in an Olympic pool while they're drowning. It's not a matter of motivation or skill. It's a matter of basic physics. They're asking you to feel abundance from a place where your body is still running. The message, this world isn't safe. They're asking you to have faith in the future when your system's entire job is to keep you alive in the present danger. It's a beautiful concept. Abundance, faith, future. But your nervous system is speaking a different language. It's speaking the language of survival. And that's the only language it knows right now. And when it doesn't work, when you can't think your way into a higher vibration, no matter how hard you try, when you've visualized and affirmed and journaled and done everything right and nothing shifts, the message you receive implicitly or explicitly is that you're doing it wrong, that you're not trying hard enough, that your resistance is the problem, that you're the problem. That message is devastating because it takes someone who is already suffering, someone whose nervous system is already in survival mode, and it adds shame on top of the pain. Now, you're not just struggling, you're struggling and being told it's your fault. You're fighting your biology and being told the fight should be easy. And if this is resonating with you right now, subscribe, because this is exactly what the rest of the series is about. I want you to hear this, and I want you to hear it clearly. You're not failing at manifestation. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's protecting you with the only tools it has. And those tools, right now, are keeping you alive. The problem isn't that you're broken. The problem isn't that your vibration is low. The problem is that nobody told you the foundation has to be built before the house can stand. Nobody told you that you cannot manifest from a nervous system in survival mode, not because you don't have enough faith, but because your nervous system is literally not in the neurobiological state where that's possible. There's a medical term that explains what's happening in your body. It's called allostatic load. And once you understand it, you'll never blame your vibration the same way again. Allostatic load is the cumulative wear and tear on your body from chronic stress. It's what happens when your nervous system stays activated for too long, when you're exposed to repeated threats, whether those threats are external and ongoing or internal and from your past, your body doesn't get a chance to recover. Your nervous system stays in a state of vigilance, and that constant state of readiness has a physiological cost. Your heart rate becomes elevated, your blood pressure stays higher, your cortisol, adrenaline, and other stress hormones remain chronically released. Your inflammatory markers go up, your digestive system shuts down, because digestion isn't a survival priority when you're being threatened. Your reproductive system pauses. Your immune system becomes dysregulated. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that does imagining, creating, planning, believing in future possibility, becomes less accessible. So you're biologically less capable of thinking creatively or believing in a different future. This isn't a vibration problem. This is a body problem. This is a nervous system that has learned through real experiences that the world requires constant surveillance. that safety is conditional, that bad things happen, that you can't relax. And here's the thing about nervous systems. They trust their own experience far more than they trust positive affirmations. Your nervous system doesn't care what your vision board says. It doesn't care what your manifestation coach told you. It cares about what it's learned to be true through years of living. Adverse childhood experiences, trauma, neglect, abuse, witnessing violence, living with addiction or mental illness in the family. These experiences literally rewire your nervous system. They create a baseline of hypervigilance, and the research is very clear. People who've experienced ACEs have higher allostatic load as adults. They have more chronic disease. They have higher rates of depression, anxiety, and PTSD, and they have a much harder time accessing the mental and emotional states that manifestation teaching assumes you already have. If you grew up in a home where you had to read your caregiver's moods to stay safe, guess what? Your nervous system became brilliant at scanning for danger. If you experienced abuse, your body learned to anticipate threats. If you lived with unpredictability, your nervous system became hyper-vigilant. These aren't character flaws. They're survival skills, but they make manifestation incredibly difficult because your system is still doing the job it was trained to do. And here's the part that really matters. Affirmations alone cannot override this. Visualization alone cannot override this. Positive thinking cannot override this, because you're not dealing with a mindset problem. You're dealing with a physiological state your body learned through real experience. It's like trying to convince someone they're not afraid of heights by showing them a PowerPoint presentation. The logical mind and the nervous system speak different languages, and right now your nervous system is speaking louder. Your nervous system is dysregulated, not because you're doing something wrong. It's dysregulated because of what your body has learned through years of experience that taught it the world wasn't safe. And the body doesn't believe what the mind is saying if the body's experience contradicts it. You can tell yourself you're safe 1,000 times, but if your body has a decade of evidence that says otherwise, it's going to believe the evidence every single time. If your body has learned this world is not safe, telling yourself, I am safe and abundant, creates cognitive dissonance. Your nervous system hears the contradiction and it doesn't buy it, so it stays in protection mode. And from protection mode, manifestation becomes impossible. Write, "Not my fault" in the comments if this just lifted something off your shoulders, because that's what happens when you finally understand. The problem isn't you. The problem isn't your faith or your belief or your vibration. The problem is that your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Let me explain how this actually works, because this is where the science becomes your liberation. Your window of tolerance is the range of arousal where your nervous system can function. Within this window, you can think clearly, feel flexibly, connect authentically, and access your own agency. You can imagine futures. You can believe in possibility, but there are edges to this window, an upper edge and a lower edge. When you cross the upper edge and go into hyperarousal, you become anxious, panicked, rageful, hypervigilant, flooded. Your nervous system is in sympathetic overdrive. It's convinced there is danger and it needs to fight or run. Your thoughts become catastrophic. Your body feels like it's vibrating at a frequency that only attracts more danger. From this state, you can't manifest anything except anxiety. Your brain isn't creative. It's protective. It's not thinking about your dream house. It's thinking about how to survive the next threat, survive the next. When you cross the lower edge and go into hyperarousal, You become numb, dissociated, depressed, shut down, withdrawn. Your nervous system is in parasympathetic collapse. It's convinced the threat is so overwhelming that your only survival option is to disappear. You feel heavy, empty, like nothing matters anyway. From this state, you can't visualize anything because you can barely feel anything. There's no energy for imagining. There's barely energy for existing. For someone with trauma, for someone with a history of ACEs, for someone living with depression or complex PTSD, this window is very narrow. You might spend most of your time outside it. You might only have a few hours a week where your nervous system is actually regulated enough to feel possibility. This is not a personal failing. This is biology. This is what chronic stress does to the human nervous system. And here's what manifestation teachers don't say. You cannot manifest from outside your window of tolerance. You can repeat affirmations from outside your window. You can visualize from outside your window. You can journal your desires from outside your window. You can go through all the motions perfectly and the results won't shift. But the nervous system state required for real manifestation, the deep belief, the embodied knowing, the cellular conviction that something is possible that only comes from within your window. And the tragic part is that most people in this situation don't know that's the problem. They think they're failing at manifestation when actually they're trying to do manifestation from a physiological state. That makes it impossible. So the first thing you need to do is stop thinking that your window is a character flaw. It's not. It's an injury. And injuries heal when you treat them with the right medicine. Write window of tolerance in the comments if you recognise yourself in that description, because recognising it is the first step toward healing it. This is where hope enters. Because the science also shows us the way forward. Your nervous system can be regulated, not overnight, not through positive thinking, but through deliberate, embodied practices that teach your body what safety feels like. Real regulation doesn't come from the mind. It comes from the body. It comes from practices that activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your nervous system designed for rest, recovery, digestion, and healing. This is somatic work. This is nervous system work. And this is where your actual transformation begins. This might look like somatic experiencing practices that help you release stored trauma from your body, gentle movement like yoga or Tai Chi that reconnects you with physical safety, breath work that signals to your nervous system the danger has passed, cold exposure or warm exposure that teaches your body, I can handle this, sound baths or tapping that help discharge frozen energy, connection with other people who feel safe, spending time in nature where your nervous system can finally rest, creating rhythmic, predictable routines that tell your body you can anticipate what comes next. These aren't as sexy as manifestation. They don't promise that you'll attract your dream house by next month. They're not going to give you overnight results, but they do something far more valuable. They expand your window of tolerance. They literally rewire the responses your nervous system learned through experience. They give your nervous system permission to leave survival mode. They teach your body you're safe now through actual felt experience, not just words. And once that happens, something remarkable occurs. You naturally begin to believe in possibility again. You don't have to force it. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to fake your vibration or visualize harder or believe more strongly. When your nervous system genuinely feels safe, through actual somatic practices, not just mindset work, your mind naturally begins to imagine futures. Your body naturally relaxes into trust. Your cells naturally align with abundance because there's finally room in your window for something beyond survival. And that's when manifestation becomes possible, not because you've gotten better at positive thinking, but because your nervous system has finally learned a new way to be in the world. Right, ready to heal my nervous system? In the comments if you're ready for this work. This is not about replacing manifestation. It's about creating the nervous system foundation that manifestation actually requires. You can't build a house on ground that's still trembling. You have to stabilize the ground first. And that's what this work does. It stabilizes the ground of your being so that everything else can be built on something solid. Here's where your real transformation begins. And it's not what you've been taught. You've been taught that manifestation means thinking about what you want and moving toward it with unwavering belief. Manifestation equals pursuit, right? You pursue the goal, you reach for it, you see successful people, and they tell you that success comes from relentless pursuit, from never giving up, from always pushing toward what you want. And that works for some people. For people whose nervous systems are stable enough to experience reaching as power rather than desperation. But pursuit comes with a shadow. When you're in pursuit from a dysregulated nervous system, from a place of lack and scarcity and fear, there's often an underlying belief that you don't have what you want right now. There's lack embedded in the reaching. There's desperation. There's the opposite of abundance. And your nervous system responds to that lack. It reads the reaching as confirmation that I don't have this yet. And it keeps itself in the contraction that matches that belief. Pursuit from desperation looks different from pursuit from abundance, and your nervous system knows the difference. The pursuit paradox is this: the more you pursue from a place of deficit, the more your nervous system reads it as confirmation that the deficit is real. You're pushing with your conscious mind while your body is pressing the brakes. No wonder you're exhausted. But here's what I want to invite you into instead. What if the first goal was not to manifest your dream house or your perfect relationship or your healed body? What if the first goal was to expand your window of tolerance? What if the first goal was to give your nervous system permission to feel safe? Because trying to manifest from a dysregulated nervous system is like driving with the emergency brake on. Your nervous system is preventing forward movement to keep you safe. Because once your nervous system feels genuinely safe, something shifts, the reaching becomes less desperate, the belief becomes less forced, the visualization becomes less effortful, the whole endeavor becomes possible because your nervous system is finally on board. And that's when real transformation becomes possible. That's when manifestation actually works. You're not skipping the manifestation part. You're just starting from a foundation that actually works. You're building the house correctly this time. This is exactly what the ebook teaches you: how to identify where your window of tolerance actually is, how to work with your nervous system as an ally instead of fighting it, how to expand your capacity for possibility incrementally, safely, and sustainably, and only then how to align your thoughts, feelings, and actions from a place of genuine regulation. The ebook is called The Pursuit Paradox, and it's built for the 40 to 45% of people in this space who have real trauma, real depression, real anxiety, people who have been told their nervous system is broken when actually It's just been protecting them. People who've been shamed for not being able to vibrate high enough when actually they've been surviving. People who have tried everything and felt like failures instead of understanding they were trying from the wrong nervous system state. This book is for you. It validates your experience. It explains why manifestation hasn't worked, and it shows you the path that actually does. You're not broken. Your nervous system is doing its job. And once you understand that job, you can help it do something different. You can heal it. And from that healed place, you can manifest powerfully. So subscribe and send this to someone who's been trying to manifest their whole life but feels like they're failing, because this changes everything. This explains everything, and this is the real path forward.